Hello everyone and welcome to mypinkstamper.com. This is Robyn here and I have a super fun technique for you guys. I'm using the new Season Like Christmas stamp set from our new holiday catalog. And I'm going to be working with the embossing paste for you all. This is back in stock, so if you've been waiting for this to be back in stock, you can order it anytime on my shopping page, mypinkstamper.stampinup.net, but it was out for quite a bit. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start with this technique first, and then I will tell you everything that I'm using as I use it. And the item code and the name will be on the bottom of my screen for you, just to make it super simple. We are going to, like I said, do something super fun with this card. We're using the embossing paste we're going to be using the craft mat, the silicone craft mat. We're also using the palette knives. I use this one a lot. It comes in a set of, I believe, 3, and I'm using this one a lot. And then we're using the Pick a Pattern templates. Now, the great thing about working with this embossing paste is you can use this, you can make your own templates with our framelits, our thinlits. You can also use the embossing folders. You can do lots of fun things with it. But what I am doing, this is our embossing paste. Okay, and I just opened this one yesterday, so it's brand new. Make sure that once you're finished, you seal it up tightly and put it back in the plastic bag that it comes in. That way it stays nice and fresh for you and it doesn't harden up. This is kind of like cake frosting. So I'm just going to use a little bit, enough to do 1 to 2 cards right now for you. If you're doing a large project, like I will show you at the very end of this video, I'll show you all of the cards that I made. I used an entire tub, a little bit more than 1 tub, and I just did all of my coloring and my adding the glitter. I did it directly to the tub. But if you're just working on 1 to 2 projects, you can also just use our craft mat. So I have this here, and now I'm using our Cherry Cobbler re-inker. Now, the great thing about our ink pads is you can get a re-inker for every one of our colors, and that way you can mix and match. You can match and coordinate with our actual different color families. So I'm going to start with less. So I'm going to do maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to start with 4 drops, and some of these actually you'll see at the end look a little bit pink, but I want it to look more like brick red. So it looks like 4 is probably good, but once that white starts getting in there and mixing, it looks a little more pinkish. So I really like this color actually. So this is perfect. So 4 drops for me works for what I needed, the color that I want, the color that I am trying to achieve. So now I'm going to do something super fun. I thought to myself, how can I make this glittery and glimmery? And I've used the regular Dazzling Diamonds glitter before, but this time I'm using our silver glitter, just our regular silver glitter, and I'm adding it directly to this. Now you can also, after you're done, before this sets, you could add some glitter on it. It will give you a totally different look because it will be more solid. This is more, I'm putting the glitter on the inside. I'm adding quite a bit of the glitter because I really want it to show. Now again, this is something that it'll have to be a personal decision how much you want to show. It looks like a lot's going to show, but once I mix it in, it just really looks like shiny and glittery. Oh, I've got a chunk of something. So this is perfect for me. So I just did a little pour, maybe about, if you want to measure everything, maybe I did about a teaspoon, less than a teaspoon, half of a teaspoon. Okay, so now I'm going to take my cardstock, and I'm using our crumb cake. This is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm also using our Stampin grid paper. I love our grid paper. It's huge sheets. I believe it is 11 by 13. I think that might be right. Yes, 11 by 13, or no, 11 by 17. And they're 2 sides. They have the grid, the rulers on them, which are really nice when you're trying to measure things or you need a background paper. So I'm going to make sure that it's straight across, and I'm going to put my bricks so they are also straight across. And then I'm just using some regular kitchen tape. You want to tape down your template You don't want it to get all wiggly and move around while you're using it. Okay, so now I'm going to take my embossing paste and I just put it directly on the back. I'm going to turn this so I can do this better. I kind of start here. I don't really start it on the edges first. I want to kind of smooth it out. But then I put it on the edges. And I should be able to use all of this for this one card front. You can make it thicker by not leveling it off. So you can actually make the embossing paste have a thicker look to it, or you can make it look more textured. Especially if you're trying to make the brick, it's nice to make it look a little bumpier, like real brick. Okay. So this is what I've got here. And now you'll want to use this on another card if you have excess. I've tried to put it in a Ziploc bag and it just hardened up, so that did not work. You'll want to use it right away. Okay, so now I have this and I'm going to let it set for like maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And you guys see the glitter on it. Ooh. Okay, so it is still wet. You'll want it to set off to the side, and then you'll want to, what I use to clean off my template is I just use an old toothbrush and I just get it in there with cool warm water and just kind of brush it all off, and then I let it air dry, or you can use a towel. So we will come right back and we'll finish up this card. Alright, so while my paste is setting up, I'm going to go ahead and work on the rest of my card. Now I'm going to be pulling out my Big Shot right here. This is the Stampin' Up! Big Shot, and I'm using it with more crumb cake cardstock right here. Let me just cut that in half with my cheapest pair of scissors, my fingers. I'm going to put this here, and I'm using our stitched shaped framelits, and you'll see how when you use these framelits it gives you this stitched look. I'm also using some of our early espresso cardstock, and I'm going to be using our layering circles framelits, which come with our smooth and our scalloped ovals in different shapes and or different sizes. I'm going to use a standard cutting pad and roll this through. That was super easy. Now it is time for us to stamp it up. Okay, these just easily pop out of here. Yay! Now we're going to start with what I love about this stamp set. It's 2-step stamping, 3-step stamping, it's whatever you want it to be. This stamp set is made using our photopolymer stamp material, so you can actually see through it to line it all up. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm using my grid paper for this because we are going to be stamping off of it just a little bit on the edge. We're going to start with Garden Green Classic ink pad. If you've never used our ink pads before, you're going to love them. They're super easy. You just put your finger or your thumb on the 3 buttons here, push it forward, and it'll pop up like that. And you can flip it around and snap it into place. Now you'll notice that our ink pads are stored upside down. That is the design of them to make sure they stay nice and juicy for you, that the ink stays at the top of the ink pad. So I'm just going to stamp this tree in the garden green, and I'm going to press firmly without rocking it. The next step we're going to do is I'm using our early espresso ink pad, and I'm doing this nice little piece here that you stamp kind of in the center of it, and it will give you the trunk of your tree. Oops, I missed a little bit there. It'll give you your trunk of your tree and then some, what is that called? Tree trunk. Did I call it the trunk? Yes. In there. Now the last color we're using is our Pear Pizzazz. Now I wanted to do another color that kind of coordinates with it. This doesn't really need to stand out. You're just adding on there. It doesn't even have to be perfect. It's just going to give the tree a little dimension. You probably can't even tell that I put that in there, but if you look close, you can. Now we're going to go ahead and take some of our snail adhesive and add this to our oval here. The next thing we're going to do is use our DUET banner punch, and I'm using our brand new vanilla thick cardstock. This is going to stand on its own. It's going to be raised up a little bit, so we want to make sure that it's a nice thick cardstock. I'm going to use our early espresso now, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment that comes in this stamp set, and this says, "Thinking of you at Christmas." There you go. And that fits on there perfectly. Now it's time to start putting this card together. It is time to finish up our elegant Christmas card. Isn't this going to really impress your family and friends when they look and feel the brick on your background and they think, how did they do that? And you can tell them, I made that myself. That's the best part about paper crafting and hand stamped items, is that you truly get to make these and actually think about your friends and family as you're making them. I know I do, so I add a special touch to my cards. They're handmade from the heart. Okay, so we're going to take a piece of our garden green cardstock. This is cut at 5.5 by 8.5. So this is one of our 8.5 by 11 pieces of cardstock, just cut in half. So you can get 2 cards from 1 piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to fold this in half with our bone folder. And now I can go ahead and add my layer with my brick using my snail adhesive. Now this is a little bit kind of like our dry embossed paper. You're going to want to put your adhesive on all 4 sides just so it's not wiggly and doesn't bump up at all. And now I'm putting this on early espresso cardstock. This is cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm not sure if I said that this is not cut by 4 and 5 1/4. This is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So I will make sure I adjust that on the screen if it is the wrong size. We want this to be the first layer. And then let's go ahead and put our second layer on. Like so. And now we're going to add, I wanted to add a little embellishment or one of our ribbons on here just to jazz it up a little bit. I'm using our burlap ribbon, which works wonderful if you want it to look like a handmade Christmas and all of the fun stuff. This is a great addition to any project you're making. I'm just going to cut it. And I'm using some of our scissors. These are our paper snips. I'm just going to snip it. There we go. It doesn't have to be straight across or anything. Now this is super easy what I'm doing next. I'm just using regular tape, and I'm just going to tape this down in the center. That's it. I want it to kind of be a little floppy on the edges. And now I can take our dimensionals, our Stampin' dimensionals, if I can find them somewhere. Here's our Stampin' dimensionals. They come in a package of 300 for only $4. So you get a ton of them. And I go through so many. I put them on everything. So I'm going to also put them on the back of this here, this paper, this banner. So it's ready to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with this one here. And I'm just going to add it directly on here, and this will cover up that tape so nobody will even know what you did. And then we're going to add our banner just right here on the top. Thinking of you at Christmas. Just a nice, I won't say simple, I'd say this is probably more of an intermediate looking card, but anyone can make it. You can be any level of paper crafter and follow my tutorial step by step. I try to make them super easy for everyone. You can find more information at mypinkstamper.com. You can order any of these supplies if you want to start making your Christmas cards early. Starting September 1st, you can order this stamp set directly from my shopping page, mypinkstamper.stampinup.net. All of the supplies are listed in this description of this YouTube video or directly on mypinkstamper.com. And I also want to show you another option that I did on this one. If you notice, I did the early espresso for the background, and this one has the garden green. So you can just switch and do whatever you'd like, change up the colors if you'd like as well. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.